Okay, so just want to show you guys my air compressor and center diff and front and rear locker setup. So I've got one of those Napa air compressors kind of hidden down back here. I've got my 230 amp battery hanging out, got my aux beam switch panel, and I picked up this neat little tank off Amazon. I'll put the link in the description, and I've got that running off of a pressure switch. So this little guy here is pretty neat. It senses the pressure in the tank, and when it gets down to 90 psi, it'll complete the circuit between these two and turn the compressor on, and then when the compressor hits 120 psi, it'll go ahead and shut it off. So right now it's sitting at roughly 52. I'll get over to my switch panel, turn on the compressor. It'll be a little loud. And this thing's gonna pump up. So 90, 100, 110, and 120-ish, and it'll kick off. And as long as my compressor switch is turned on, if it ever falls below 90 psi, it'll kick on and pump up my tank. So I've got my ARB actuators here. This one's for center diff lock, and I've got the part-time four-wheel drive kit. And I'll put a video link card at the end of the video for my air locking center diff locker. So this one's for lock, this one's for unlock, this one's front diff, and this one's rear, which I haven't run the line for yet. So I've got my relay wired in, and I just need to get it mounted. So I wanted to show you guys the idiot-proof way that somebody showed me how to wire a relay. So this is just a standard relay. It's a 40 amp. You can get the Bosch ones or any ones you want, but they all look like this, and you can get them with these little pigtails that push on here, which really helps wire them up and keep everything looking nice and clean. So if you take the relay and you put this tab on the table looking away from you, you'll have five wires that you're dealing with. So on the right hand side, you've got the white one, and on the left you've got the yellow. So the colors don't really mean anything, but what this does, when one side sees power and one side sees ground, the relay will trigger. So once you take away either power or ground, the relay will unlatch. And then this one here, this one on the bottom, this is whatever you want your input to be. So if you need to feed 12 volts to something, you would give this 12 volts. And this is called a normally closed setup. So without any power attached to this yellow or white wire, if you put 12 volts in on the black wire, you will get 12 volts out on the blue wire. The second you attach power and ground, you need both of them. So one could be wired into ground permanently, and then you could have this run into a switch, let's say, or like my aux beam panel. Once you give the relay power, it's going to go ahead and disconnect the circuit between the black and the blue, between the bottom and the middle, and it'll now feed it to the top wire. So you'll now get 12 volt output on the top wire. And you can do this any way you want. Like I said, if you want to feed ground into the bottom, it'll feed ground to the blue when it's normally closed. And when you apply power to it, you'll get whatever you've got on the bottom coming out of this wire. So just kind of an idiot-proof way to do this. And how I'm using this is I've got a air-actuated center locking diff, and I'll put the other video on that at the end there at the video card, so you can check that out. But how this works is when I lock my diff, when I hit my four-wheel drive button on the aux beam switch panel, it's going to go ahead and shoot power to this white wire. This yellow is permanently grounded, which will trigger the relay, and so it'll send 12 volts from this bottom wire through the relay and out to the red wire on top. And that's going to turn on my actuator for four-wheel drive. When I go ahead and turn off my switch panel and I drop the power off, it's going to go ahead and disconnect this, and it will reconnect my other air actuator that unlocks the diff. So I need two air actuators for the center diff lock. I need one actuator to lock and one actuator to unlock. And I tried doing this a little bit slicker way. I bought this Eric's dual control valve. So basically it either shoots air out of one or shoots air out of the other. It switches back and forth. And I should have learned my lesson a long time ago. When you buy something cheap, you get a piece of shit and it leaks through the valve. So this is junk. I ended up having to spend the money, and I ended up buying 4 gang of the ARB air actuators. So then we'll go over to the front here. Bear with me. I've got my panel. So the air compressor's on. I could turn it off because I've got enough air in that tank now if I wanted to, but I just keep it on if I'm ever going to be running lockers or center diff lock. And I can't find a 4-wheel drive button for the aux beam, so I'll have to search for that. I just put the number 4. If you look over here on the dash, turn it on, boom, we got 4-wheel drive. So that relay is in the normally closed position, so it's clicked over and it's feeding power to that one actuator. And the second I turn it off, it feeds power to the unlock actuator. So why would I want to do that? Well, I get to go ahead and control everything off of one switch instead of having to turn one off and turn another one on, or vice versa. And it keeps me from screwing up and figuring out whether I'm in 4-wheel drive or not. So 4-wheel drive on, 4-wheel drive off. We've got front locker engaged, and I still have to wire up to the rear locker. So I need to run an airline for that. And then this is my air compressor on. And like I said, that'll run until it hits 120 PSI on that switch, and then it'll shut off on its own. So I'll just leave this on because I'm planning on running the lockers right now, let's say. If I'm not going to be, if I'm just doing some street driving, I can go ahead and turn that off and won't have it kick on in case there's any air leaks or anything like that. So pretty sweet setup. You get to lock and unlock the center locking air actuated diff. I'll put a video card at the end of the video if you guys are interested in that product. I had it shipped in from New Zealand. Those guys know how to do some cool stuff. And yeah, other than that, I think this thing's ready to go. Just needs one more airline.